Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, we follow Tien and her baby Anna after their terrifying escape from Mrs. Tui. Injured, exhausted, and completely lost, Tien carries her child deep into the forest, fighting pain, fear, and despair with every step. With no phone, no food, and no sense of direction, survival becomes her only goal. As night falls again and hope grows thinner, Jack is still desperately searching from the outside, unaware of how close Tien is to giving in, or how fiercely she's holding on for Anna's sake. This is a story about a mother's instinct. Stay with us until the end to feel every heartbeat of this emotional journey. And don't forget to subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Your support truly means the world to us. The forest feels endless. Tien doesn't remember how long she's been running. All she knows is that her lungs burn, her legs shake, and every step feels like she's dragging her body through mud. Branches scratch at her arms, leaves slap against her face, and somewhere behind her, the echoes of fear still cling to her skin. She tightens her hold around Anna, pressing the baby closer to her chest, as if her own heartbeat could protect her from everything chasing them. Anna whimpers softly, a thin sound that cuts straight into Tien's heart. "It's okay. Mommy's here," she whispers, even though her voice trembles. She doesn't know if the words are for Anna or for herself. Moments earlier, she had escaped from Mrs. Tui's grip. Blood on her sleeve, pain exploding through her side where she had fallen hard against a metal edge. She doesn't look back now. She can't. The only thought in her mind is distance. Get far away. Keep Anna safe. But the deeper she runs, the darker the forest becomes. The trees close in, thick and towering, blocking out the sky. Sunlight fades into scattered shards that barely touch the ground. Tien slows, her breath uneven, dizziness creeping in as the blood loss begins to catch up with her. She stumbles over a root and nearly falls, only managing to stay upright by gripping a tree trunk with her free hand. Her palm comes away wet. She looks down and sees red spreading across her fingers. Fear surges through her chest. No, please," she mutters, biting her lip to keep from crying. She shifts Anna higher, checking her quickly. The baby's eyes are open, wide and confused, but she's unharmed. That alone keeps Tien moving. She has no phone, no sense of direction, no idea how far she's gone. All she knows is that home feels impossibly far away. The forest grows quiet in a way that's almost terrifying. No voices, no footsteps, just the sound of leaves crunching beneath her shoes and the faint rush of a stream somewhere nearby. Tien follows the sound instinctively, hoping water might lead to people, or at least give her a chance to clean her wound. When she finally reaches the stream, her knees buckle. She sinks down onto a rock, clutching Anna tightly as pain tears through her body. The cold air bites into her damp clothes, and her vision blurs. For a moment, she's afraid she might pass out. She forces herself to stay awake. "Not now," she whispers. "Please, not now." She dips her fingers into the stream, the icy water making her gasp. Carefully, she presses the wet fabric against her wound. It hurts so badly she nearly screams, but she welcomes the pain. It reminds her she's still alive. Anna begins to cry louder now, sensing her mother's distress. Tien rocks her gently. "Shh, Baby, shh, we'll get home. Daddy's waiting for us. Saying Jack's name makes her chest ache. She imagines him standing in the house, looking at his phone, wondering why she hasn't come back yet. She imagines his worry turning into panic, his voice shaking as he calls everyone he knows. The thought both comforts and terrifies her. What if he never finds them? The idea presses down on her, like the weight of the forest itself. Meanwhile, far from the trees and shadows, Jack paces back and forth across the farmhouse floor, his phone clenched tightly in his hand. The screen lights up and goes dark again as he checks the time for what feels like the 100th time. Still nothing. He dials Uncle Dung again, his voice strained as soon as the call connects. Uncle, have you heard from Lytutien? Is she there? The answer is the same as before. No, Jack. She hasn't been back since the day before yesterday. Everyone's been asking around. We're worried too. Jack closes his eyes, his chest tightening painfully. She wouldn't disappear without telling me. He hangs up and immediately makes another call. Then another. Uncle Bin. Mr. Vin at the construction site. Anyone who might have seen her. He sends Lytuten's photo through Zalo, typing fast, hands shaking. Please let me know if you see her. She's with a baby, my daughter. Every message feels like throwing a rope into darkness, hoping it catches on something. When the police finally arrive, Jack barely manages to sit still. Officers Kwong and Huang introduce themselves calmly, but Jack's words spill out in a rush. He explains everything. When Lytutien left, where she was supposed to go, how she never came home. She was normal, he insists. There was nothing wrong. No argument, no signs she wanted to leave. He shows them the camera footage from the farm. 2 p.m. Lytutien walking away with Anna, adjusting the baby's blanket, turning once to wave at the camera out of habit. Then nothing. Officer Huang asks about conflicts, about her past, about anyone who might want to hurt her. Jack hesitates, jaw tightening. He mentions her ex-husband's family, mentions Mrs. Tui. He doesn't accuse directly, but the fear is written all over his face. After the report is filed and signed, the house feels emptier than ever. Jack doesn't wait. As soon as the officers leave, he grabs his jacket and heads back out, calling friends, workers, anyone willing to help search. Sitting still is impossible. Every second feels like he's failing her. Back in the forest, the light fades quickly. Lytutien forces herself to stand again, following what looks like a faint trail. Her legs are weak, her steps unsteady. At one point, she nearly walks straight into a stretch of rusted barbed wire hidden beneath vines. She freezes just in time, her heart pounding wildly. Careful, careful, she whispers to herself. Beyond the wire, she spots something that makes her breath catch. An abandoned house. It's old, wooden, half swallowed by the forest. Broken windows. A door hanging crookedly on its hinges. But to Lytutien, it looks like a lifeline. Hello, she calls out, her voice echoing weakly. Is anyone here? Silence answers her. She steps inside anyway, cradling Anna protectively. The air smells of dust and damp wood. There's nothing useful. No food, no phone, no sign of recent life. Still, it offers shelter. Her strength finally gives out. Lytutien sinks to the floor, tears streaming silently down her face as she holds Anna close. Hunger gnaws at her stomach. Cold creeps into her bones. Fear presses in from every side. As night falls, she gathers dry branches and manages to light a small fire. The flickering flames cast trembling shadows across the walls, making the room feel alive in the worst way. She stares into the fire, her thoughts drifting dangerously close to despair. "Jack, please," she whispers into the darkness, "find us." The fire crackles softly, the only witness to a mother clinging to hope in the middle of nowhere, determined to survive one more night for the sake of the child in her arms. Morning comes without mercy. A thin, gray light filters through the broken roof of the abandoned shelter, landing unevenly on the dirt floor. Tien wakes slowly, her consciousness clawing its way back through layers of pain and exhaustion. For a brief moment, she feels disoriented, unsure whether she's still running or if everything that happened last night was only a nightmare. Then she feels the weight in her arms. Anna. The baby is still there, pressed against her chest, wrapped tightly in the torn jacket Tien used as a blanket. Relief washes over her instantly, followed by a deep, crushing fear. Anna is too quiet, not sleeping peacefully, just weak. Tien swallows hard and shifts carefully, every small movement sending sharp pain through her side. The wound has stiffened overnight. Her clothes cling to her skin, dried blood pulling uncomfortably as she breathes. Her entire body feels cold, hollowed out from hunger and fear. Anna lets out a soft, hoarse cry. That sound pierces straight through Tien's heart. "I know. Mommy knows," she whispers, her voice barely audible. Her lips are cracked, her throat burning. She presses her forehead against Anna's head, eyes squeezing shut as guilt floods her chest. She should be feeding her. She should be keeping her warm. She should be home. But she's here instead, lost. She forces herself upright, bracing one hand against the wall to keep from collapsing. Her legs tremble violently beneath her. For a terrifying second, her vision darkens at the edges, and she has to pause, breathing slowly, counting each breath until the world steadies again. She can't afford to faint. Not now. Tien steps outside into the damp morning air. The forest stretches endlessly in every direction, the trees standing like silent witnesses. Morning light reveals just how deep she is. No roads, no clear paths, no signs of nearby homes. The realization tightens her chest. She listens. Nothing. No voices, no engines, no footsteps. Only the faint sound of the stream. The stream again. It's the only thing familiar now. She follows it slowly, every step measured, careful. When she reaches the water, she kneels with difficulty, ignoring the pain screaming through her knees. She cups water in her hands, drinks a little, then dips a piece of cloth into the stream. She gently touches it to Anna's lips. The baby instinctively opens her mouth, sucking weakly at the moisture. It's barely anything, but it's all Tien has. Tears blur her vision as she watches Anna struggle. "I'm sorry," she whispers over and over. "Please, just a little longer." She cleans her wound as best she can, biting down hard to keep from crying out. The cold water burns, but she welcomes it. It keeps her awake, keeps her grounded. She looks around again, forcing herself to choose a direction. "Home," she murmurs, pointing through the trees. "We're going home." even if she has no idea where that is. She walks. Time becomes strange in the forest. Minutes stretch endlessly. Hours pass without meaning. The sun climbs higher, then slowly begins to descend again. Tien stumbles more than once, skinning her hands, nearly falling with Anna in her arms. Each stumble sends panic surging through her. She checks Anna every time, whispering reassurance even when her own voice shakes uncontrollably. Branches tear at her clothes. Thorns scrape her skin. Her legs feel numb as if they no longer belong to her. Hunger gnaws at her stomach, dizziness creeping in with every step. She calls out occasionally, "Help! Please! Anyone!" Her voice echoes weakly, swallowed almost immediately by the forest. No one answers. At one point, she reaches a small clearing. The grass is flattened in places, leaves disturbed, something like footprints barely visible in the dirt. Her heart leaps painfully in her chest. Someone has been here. Hope flares so brightly it almost hurts. "Hello," she calls, louder now. "Is anyone there?" She waits. Nothing. The silence presses down harder than before, cruel in its emptiness. The hope fades, leaving behind a hollow ache that makes her chest tighten. She sinks onto a fallen log, head dropping forward as tears spill freely down her cheeks. She doesn't sob loudly. She can't waste the energy. She cries silently, shaking, clutching Anna closer as if the baby is the only thing anchoring her to reality. Her thoughts begin to blur again. The forest sways gently around her, the edges of her vision softening. Exhaustion pulls at her like a tide. This is how people disappear, she thinks vaguely. They just stop. Fear jolts her upright. "No," she whispers fiercely. "Not like this." She forces herself to stand again, leaning heavily against a tree until the dizziness passes. She thinks of Jack, his worried eyes, the way he always stands between her and danger without hesitation. She imagines him searching, refusing to give up. That thought alone keeps her moving. Elsewhere, Jack is doing exactly that. He hasn't slept. His voice is hoarse from calling Tien's name over and over, shouting into the trees until his throat burns. He moves with a small group now, villagers and workers spreading out in different directions, checking every abandoned structure, every trail, every stream. But the forest gives them nothing. No footprints, no clothes, no cries, only silence. Jack's hands shake as he grips a flashlight when night begins to fall again. He tries not to imagine the worst. He tells himself Tien is strong. She's survived so much already. "She'll hold on," he mutters. "She has to." Back in the forest, Tien realizes with growing dread that she won't make it out today. She finds a cluster of rocks near the stream and collapses beside them, curling her body around Anna to shield her from the wind. There's no fire tonight. She doesn't have the strength, and fear tells her that fire might draw the wrong kind of attention. The forest at night feels alive. Insects buzz loudly, leaves rustle constantly. Every unfamiliar sound makes her flinch violently, clutching Anna protectively. Her heart races uncontrollably, adrenaline mixing with exhaustion in a dangerous haze. She forces herself to stay awake. "If I sleep, I might not wake up," she whispers. She rocks gently, humming under her breath, broken melodies from memory. her voice barely holding together. It's the only comfort she can offer Anna. It's the only comfort she has. Her thoughts grow darker as the hours drag on. What if Jack never finds her? What if Mrs. Tui sends someone after her? What if this forest becomes Anna's entire world? The fear is suffocating. Tears soak into Anna's blanket as Lytutien presses her forehead against her daughter's head. "I ran," she whispers. "I protected you. I didn't let her take you. Please, let that be enough." Anna doesn't cry anymore. That terrifies her.